Sannyasa Yoga. 18.1. Sorry. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 18, verse 1. Arjuna Uvacha Sannyasasya Mahabaho Tattvam Ichchami Veditum Tyagasya Cha Rishikesha Prithakkeshi Nishu Dana.
Arjuna said, O mighty armed one, I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation, Tyaga, and of the renounced order of life, Sannyasa, O killer of the Keshi demon, master of the senses.
Verse 2. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasam Sannyasam Kavayo Vidu Sarvakarma Phalatyagam Prahustyagam Vichakshanaha.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the giving up of activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men called the renounced order of life, sannyasa, and giving up the results of all activities is what the wise calls renunciation, tyaga.
Verse number 3. Tyajyam doshavad iti eka karma prahur Manishinaha Yagyadana Tapa Karma Natyagyam Iti Chapare.
Okay. Some learned men declare that all kinds of fruitative activities should be given up as faulty, yet other sages maintain that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned.
Verse number 4. Nishchayam Shrinu Me Tatra Tyage Bharata Sattama Tyago Hi Purusha Vyagra Trividha Samprakirtitaha.
O best of the Bharatas, now hear my judgment about renunciation. O tiger among men, renunciation is declared in the scriptures to be of three kinds.
Verse number 5. Yagyadana Tapa Karma Natyagyam Karyameva Tat Yagyodanam Tapaschaiva Pavanani Manishinam.
Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls.
Verse number 6. Etani yapi tu karmani sangam tyaktva phalani cha kartavyanniti me partha nishchitam matam uttamam.
All these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectation of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty. O son of Pritha, that is my final opinion.
Verse number 7. Niyatasya tu sannyasa karmano na upapadayate mohattasya parityagas tamasa parikirtitaha.
Prescribed duties should never be renounced. If one gives up his prescribed duties because of illusion, such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance.
Verse number 8. Dukkham iti eva yat karma kaya klesha bhayatyajet sakritva rajasam tyagam naiva tyaga phalam labhet.
Anyone who gives up prescribed duties that's troublesome or out of fear of bodily discomfort is said to have renounced in the mode of passion. Such action never leads to elevation of renunciation.
Verse number 9. Karyam iti eva yat karma niyatam kriyate arjuna sangam tyaktva phalam chaiva satyaga satviko mataha.
O Arjuna, when one performs his prescribed duty only because it ought to be done and renounces all material association and all attachment to the fruit, his renunciation is said to be in the mode of goodness.
Verse number 10. Nadveshti akushalam karma kushalenanusajjate tyagi sattva samam vishto medhavi chinna samshaya.
The intelligent renouncer situated in the mode of goodness, neither hateful or of inauspicious work, nor attached to auspicious work, has no doubts about work.
Verse number 11. Nahi deha bhrita sakyam tyaktum karmani asheshataha yastu karma phala tyagi satyagiti abhidhiyate.
It is indeed impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities, but he who renounces the fruit of action is called one who has truly renounced.
Verse number 12. Anishtam ishtam mishram cha trividham karmana phalam bhavati tyaginam pretya natu sanyasinam kvachit.
For one who is not renounced, the threefold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, cure after death. But those who are in the renounced order of life have no such result to suffer or enjoy.
Verse number 13. Panchaitani mahabaho karanani nibodhame sankhye kritante proktani siddhaye sarva karmanam.
O mighty armed Arjuna, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of all action. Now learn these from me.
Verse number 14. Adhishtanam tatha karta karanam cha prithak vidham vividhascha prithak cheshta daivam chaivatra panchamam.
The place of action, the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the supersoul. These are the 5 factors of action.
Verse number 15. Shariravan manobhiryat karma prarabhate nara nayam va viparitam va panchayate tasya hetavaha.
Whatever right or wrong action a man performs by body, mind, or speech is caused by these 5 factors.
Verse number 16. Tatraivam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tuya pashyati yakrata buddhitvan nasa pashyati durmatihi.
Therefore, one who thinks himself only the doer, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are.
Verse number 17. Yasya nahankrito bhavo buddhiryasya na lipyate hatvapi sa imam lokan nahanti na nibhadyate.
One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his actions.
Verse number 18. Jnanam jneyam parigyata त्रिविधा कर्म चोदना कर्माणं कर्म कर्तेति त्रिविधा कर्म संग्रहा.
Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the three factors that motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer are the three constituents of action.
Verse number 19. Jnanam karma cha karta cha tridhaiva gunabhedatah prochyate gunasankhyaane yathavat shrinutani api.
According to the three different modes of material nature, there are three kinds of knowledge: action and the performer of action. Now hear these for me.
Verse number 20. Sarvabhuteshu yanekam bhavam avyayamikshate avivaktam vibhakteshu tagyanam vidhi satvikam.
That knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness.
Verse number 21. Prithaktvaina tu yajnanam nana bhavan prithakvidhan vetti sarveshu bhuteshu tagyanam vidhi rajasam.
That knowledge by which one sees that in every different body there is a different type of living entity, you should understand to be in the mode of passion.
Verse number 22. Yattu Krishnavad ekasmin karye saktam ahetukam atatvarthavadalpam cha tattamasam udahritam.
And that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all in all, without knowledge of the truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness.
Verse number 23. Niyatam sangarahitam araga dveshata kritam afala prepsuna karma yattat satvikam uchyate.
The action which is regulated and which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruitive results, is said to be in the mode of goodness.
Verse number 24. Yattu kamepsuna karma sahankarena va punaha kriyate bahulayasam tadrajasam udarhitam.
But action performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his desires and enacted from a sense of false ego is called action in the mode of passion.
Verse number 25. Anubandham shayam himsam anapekshaya cha parusham mohad arabhyate karma yattat tamasamuchyate.
That action performed in illusion, in disregard of spiritual injunctions, and without concern for future bondage or for violence or distress caused to others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Is it 25 that I have to or 26?
Yeah, 25. Thank you,
Thank you
Mataji.
very much, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful recitation from Mataji. I like the meter you were using. And Luke Prabhu, thank you also. Wonderful English recitation.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. So, welcome everyone. Just seeing all our regulars are back, are here today. Thank you so much for coming and your participation. So today we'll continue with our reading and discussion of chapter number 18. Just need to make sure I got the right slides up. Krishna, Who can remember what chapter 18 is entitled?
Conclusion.
No?
Conclusion. Perfection of renunciation.
More than that?
It's like something more of a moksha. No, no. Perfection of renunciation is all I know.
Breaking the bonds of matter.
No?
Perfection of renunciation.
Perfection of renunciation. Yes, someone just said it now. Just the title is so intriguing. We all know that spiritual life requires renunciation. Well, actually, Prabhupada says, what can we renounce if nothing belongs to us? If I walk past Barclays Bank and I say, I renounce Barclays Bank, what will people think about me? I'm crazy, because Barclays Bank does not belong to me. How can I renounce Barclays Bank? So in the same way, how can we renounce something that does not belong to us? So this particular theme will come out clearly in this chapter, the perfection of renunciation. Oh, it's just the title itself is so intriguing. So we'll recite the Mangala Charanam prayers, and you can join me behind muted mics. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpaturubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachati Shatarine Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So yesterday we read text number 2. And this chapter, or this section from verses 1 to 12, as we were discussing, it's all about understanding the difference between sannyas, the renounced order of life, and renunciation, tyaga. And in this verse today, the Lord will give other people's opinion of the two and which is better. And following that, Krishna will give his own opinion. So these verses are very interesting. Today's verse, let me just make sure that everyone's muted. Thank you. Tajyam dosha vadityeke karma prahu manisinaha yagnadana tapa karma natyagyam iti chapare. Word for word, synonyms. Tyagyam must be given up. Doshavat as an evil. Iti thus. Eke one group. Karma work. Prahu they say. Manasinaha great thinkers, yagna of sacrifice, dana, charity, tapaha, and penance, karma, works, na, never, tyagam, are to be given up, iti, thus, cha, and apare, others. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Some learned men declare that all kinds of fruitive activities should be given up as faulty. Yet other sages maintain that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There are many activities in the Vedic literature which are subjects of contention. For instance, it is said that an animal can be killed in a sacrifice. Yet some maintain that animal killing is completely abominable. Although animal killing in a sacrifice is recommended in the Vedic literature, the animal is not considered to be killed. The sacrifice is to give a new life to the animal. Sometimes the animal is given a new animal life after being killed in the sacrifice, and sometimes the animal is promoted immediately to the human form of life. But there are different opinions among the sages. Some say that animal killing should always be avoided, and others say that for a specific sacrifice, it is good. All these different opinions on sacrificial activity are now being clarified by the Lord himself. So that's very beautiful. Just bear with me, I just want to be down in this room. It's not cold. So the verse again, some learned men declare that all kinds of fruitive activity should be given up as faulty. Yet other sages maintain that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned. So this is a section of verses 2 to 6 where Krishna defines sannyas and tyaga, and he gives two opinions on tyaga, which is this verse, and then after that the Lord gives his own opinion. So what are the two opinions being expressed here? And Srila Prabhupada helps us in our understanding by putting it in the context of a particular activity, which is animal sacrifice. So the two opinions are, we should give up all fruitive activities as faulty because there is a possibility of violence in the acts of sacrifice. And this is actually evidenced by the followers of Kapila Sankhya philosophy. So these people are saying, there's a first class of people that says, any activity for some fruitive results, and generally animal sacrifices are performed for some fruitive result. Because there is a possibility of violence. And we all know that when violence is involved, there is the reaction. Now there's a second opinion. And what is the second opinion? We should never give up the acts of sacrifice, yakya, charity, dana, and austerity, tapa. Why? Because no sin, one incurs no sin by performing what is prescribed in the Vedas, even if it involves violence. And this is from the followers of Janmani. So the first one is not the Lord Kapila we know, but this is another Kapila. And the second is by the Jaimini, sorry. So this is an interesting difference of opinion here. And it's all related to sacrifice. And the debate here is whether in the context of sannyas or tyaga, renunciation. So let's discuss this in a little more detail. So one interesting point, or the opinion, yes, as Prabhupada is articulating in his purport, is that it's based on the outcomes of the animal sacrifice. Some people say, you know what, animal sacrifice, it's fine. We should do it. Because when you do the animal sacrifice, the animal gets a new life. And if the animal does not get another animal life, then at least he'll get a human form of life. It's all for the betterment of the animal. So this is all good. And obviously the other people say, no, you know, animal sacrifice is just, no matter which way you look at it, it's bad. And then they say, you know, you still like, say the animal is 10 years old, right? And you put the 10-year-old animal through the sacrifice, and then the animal gets another birth as the animal. Then it has to start again from birth. So you're actually prolonging its life in an animal. So what one gets into all sorts of semantics when one gets into opinions. In one purport to the 52nd verse of the 18th chapter in the first canto, Srila Prabhupada makes an interesting statement about animal sacrifices. Ashvamedha yagyas or Gomedha yagyas. Sacrifices in which a horse or a bull is sacrificed were not, of course, for the purpose of killing the animals. Lord Chaitanya said that such animals sacrificed on the altar of yagya were rejuvenated and a new life was given to them. It was just to prove the efficacy of the hymns of the Vedas. By recitation of the hymns of the Vedas in the proper way, certainly the performer gets relief from the reactions of sins. But in the case of such sacrifices improperly done under inexpert management, surely one has to become responsible for animal sacrifice. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, there is no possibility of performing the yagyas perfectly for want of expert brahmanas who are able to conduct such yagyas. Maharaj Yudhishthira therefore gives a hint to performing sacrifices in the age of Kali. In the age of Kali, the only sacrifice recommended is the performance of Harinam Yagya, inaugurated by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But one should not indulge in animal killing and counteract it by performing the Harinam Yagya. Those who are devotees of the Lord never kill an animal for self-interest. And as the Lord ordered Arjuna, they do not refrain from performing the duty of a Shakti. The whole purpose, therefore, is served when everything is done for the will of the Lord. This is only possible only for the devotees. So Srila Prabhupada is giving a different and an interesting angle on this debate about whether one should perform or should not perform. Srila Prabhupada says, in this Kali Yuga, no matter which sides you take, there's going to be problems, because in this sacrifice requires qualified and expert brahmanas. And in this Kali Yuga, there is no expert and qualified brahmanas. So the only yagya is the Sankirtan yagya, which can be performed by any person. There's no hard and fast rules in the Sankirtan yagya. So this is the beauty of Kali Yuga. One does not have to get into all of these differences in opinions. Everything is simple. And if one is intelligent, then one will follow the Sankirtan yagya. Another interesting point in connection with the statements. In one morning walk in 1976, Srila Prabhupada said, To become Krishna conscious means to jump over the spiritual platform immediately. And this Varnashrama Dharma, Sannyas, Van Tyaga, Karma Tyaga, these are different steps only. But if you become Krishna conscious seriously, then you jump over all of these steps, you go immediately. That lift and the staircase. By staircase, you go step by step. By lift, you can go immediately, faster. So the key word here is Krishna consciousness seriously. If one takes wholeheartedly to Krishna consciousness, this debates about sannyas and tyag, they all fall away. Now, if we look at the verse itself, there are some interesting words that we can focus on. So the words are prahur, they say, mana, mani, sinaha, great thinkers. So this word mani, sinaha, this comes from the word man, mind. And the interesting or the important point in this context is, as long as one acts on the level of the mind, there is bound to be difference of opinion. Prabhupada writes in the purport, but there are different opinions among the sages. Some say that animal killing should always be avoided, and others say that for a specific sacrifice is good. So the question remains, whose opinion should we follow? The Vaishnava Siddhanta is, we are not concerned about different opinions. Opinions of great thinkers who are trying to figure out what is right or wrong on the basis of the mind. We all know that the mind is deceptive and the mind is material. So as Prabhupada says, anything that is conceived in the factory or the workshop of the mind should not be trusted. So we are not concerned about different opinions. We want to know what is Krishna's opinion. What does Krishna consider to be best? So this is quite an important point. In spiritual life, there are many questions that arise that we want answers to questions. And where should we find those answers? There's one very interesting verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita I would like to share with you. Let's see if I can find it. Just bear with me quickly. I'm just going to go to the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 2, text 86. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So this is a verse spoken by Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, which I will share you. It's very important for our own spiritual lives. So Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, who is the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the second chapter, text 86, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami writes, and the purport to this verse is very interesting also. In this Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is no contradictory conclusion, nor is anyone else's opinion accepted. I have written this book to describe the simple substance as I have heard it from superiors. If I become involved in someone's likes and dislikes, I cannot possibly write the simple truth. So Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is expressing a very important point, that when one wants to gather the truth, one should not go and do some research on different opinions. Srila Prabhupada writes very beautifully in the purport. The simplest thing for human beings is to follow their predecessors. Judgment according to mundane senses is not a very easy process. Whatever is awakened by attachment to one's predecessor is the way of devotional service as indicated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Srila Prabhupada writes, follow their predecessors, it means Guru Parampara. The author says, however, that he cannot consider the opinions of those who become attracted or repelled by such things, because one cannot write impartially in that way. In other words, the author is stating that he did not inject personal opinion in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He has simply described the spontaneous understanding from superiors. If he had been carried away by someone's likes and dislikes, he could not have written of such a sublime subject matter in such an easy way. The actual facts are understandable to real devotees. When these facts are recorded, they are very congenial to the devotees, but one who is not a devotee cannot understand. Such is the subject matter for realization. Mundane scholarship and its concomitant attachments and detachments cannot arouse spontaneous love of Godhead. Such love cannot be described by a mundane scholar. So there we have it, dear devotees. It's very clearly being set out here concerning the opinions of others. And Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, if we get caught up in people's likes and dislikes, because generally people's opinions get shaped and informed by their likes and dislikes. However you like it, the mind is so tricky and the intelligence is so tricky. It inadvertently influences our conclusions and our likes and dislikes. So it is being said by Srila Prabhupada and Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the process for truth, the only process for assimilating the truth is the process of Guru Parampara. Therefore, whenever you hear some opinion by anybody and you feel some inclination to want to accept that opinion, the first research you have to do to prevent yourself falling prey to a deviant opinion is to ask yourself the question, in which parampara, in which disciplic succession is this person coming? And if the answer is no disciplic succession, then one does not accept it. Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, once there were some groups of people coming to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and they were proclaiming that they had met a wonderful, great sadhu who is such a great devotee of Lord Ram. And he is displaying such wonderful symptoms of bhakti that people are naturally attracted to him. And they were saying imploring Srila Bhaktisiddhanta to come and meet the sadhu. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, I will consider your request, but before I make a decision, you please go to the sadhu and you ask him one question. Yes, Maharaj, what question should we ask him? Said, you go and ask the sadhu, through whom is his bhakti of Lord Ram flowing through and coming to him? He said, sure, we can ask that question. So they went to the sadhu and they asked the sadhu, "Dear Baba, we'd like to ask you a question. You have such deep and wonderful bhakti for Lord Ram. Can you please tell us through whom this bhakti is flowing to you?" And he looked at them and he said, what do you mean through whom? My bhakti is not flowing through anyone. It's coming from Lord Ram to me. So, thank you, Baba, for your answer. So they went to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and they explained to him what was the response. Immediately, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, "He's bogus. I don't want to see him and I don't see any need to meet him." So this is the process for spiritual life. We are not so concerned about opinions of others. The only opinion that concerns us is the opinion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is a verse I quote quite often. You must have heard me quote this before, and it is a verse that Srila Prabhupada quotes very often. And it's a very important verse. And it comes from the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Dharmam tu shakshad bhagavat pranitam. Savai vidhur rasayo napi devaha. Na siddha mukya asura manusyaha. Kutuna vidyadhara charana dayaha. Religious principles, real religious principles, are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although fully situated in the mode of goodness, even the great rishis who occupy the topmost planets cannot ascertain the real religious principles. Nor can the demigods or the leaders of Siddhaloka, to say nothing of the Suras, ordinary human beings, Vidyadharas, and Charanas. Dharmam tu shakshad bhagavat pranitam. That real dharma, real religion, can only come from Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And those who are coming in disciplic succession from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna, the Lord here, is expressing what the opinion of others is. But in subsequent to the verse, Krishna will say in text number 4, it says to Arjuna, "O best of the Bharatas, now hear my judgment." So this is where we focus on. And this is the process for spiritual life. And what we are really concerned about, not are the intricacies of karma and animal killing. Our interest is the purification of the heart and what pleases the Lord. And that purification is only comes when what we follow is completely aligned with the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the disciplic successor. So I'll stop here. It's 8:31. I know it's Sunday. You do not want to go to bed very late. So we'll take any questions, comments, or reflections that anyone has.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Very nice class. Sorry if I didn't understand. The two options we have, like first one was we should not kill animals, and the second one was if we are killing, and if it's done in the right way, it's for the benefit of the animal. And then I think what I understood is, but Krishna will tell us what is the best way.
Yes.
But I didn't get what is Krishna's message. Sorry.
Tomorrow's class is given by Divyanam Prabhu. I don't want to steal what he's going to say.
All right. Okay. I thought I missed it and all. So I was wondering
No,
if I
I'm
did.
deliberately not saying because I want to keep you all in anticipation.
Okay. No problems. All right. Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments or reflections?
Prabhuji,
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Those,
Krishna.
when the animal sacrifice was done as per the Vedic rites and in a proper manner, when they come back as human beings, what class of human beings they fall into? Like a perfect human beings, one who is renounced, or they have to go through the process of finding themselves where they are, like us?
I've never seen that detail given anywhere, Puja Mataji, but I would anticipate that they will be placed in a human form of life where there is more opportunity for self-realization.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're almost being, because the animal sacrifice where it's done is like chanting of mantras. And when the animal hears those mantras, obviously there's a certain level of elevation of consciousness. Yeah. So I don't know the detail, but my anticipation is, according to what I've read, is in a form of a human life where they can progress spiritually.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Well, Prabhuji, just a clarification. So the Vedas on one hand talked about non-proprietorship of human beings and also equality in terms of all living entities are equal. And then why did they then recommend that human beings have the right to be proprietors and decide to elevate an animal with mantras? I'm a bit confused with that.
Yes, the Vedas in one sense, Mataji, they are contradictory.
Right.
Because especially those parts of the Vedas that are propagating Artha, Kama, Moksha, and Dharma. They are trying to deal with so many classes of people, isn't it? You're trying to deal those in the mode of goodness, those in the mode of passion, and those in the mode of ignorance. So how do you resolve those contradictions? It's very hard.
Yes.
Therefore, when Narad Muni was speaking to Vyasadeva, he said, you made a big mistake when you compiled this Vedas because you were just trying to cater for, too many classes of people, and you are bound to get into trouble. You are bound to get into trouble. So just forget resolving all these contradictions and just give them the parodharma, the true religion, which is bhakti. That's what Narad told Vyasadeva, and he almost chastised him. He said, he used a strong word, it's detestable what you've done. He tells Vyasadeva, it's detestable what you've done in the Vedas.
Yes. Yeah. It reminds me of that story in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita where that butterfly becomes a human, and then one after you see immediate reaction of, but that was on chanting, wasn't it? That was by chanting the mantra, which was the Hare Krishna. In that one, it was Hare Krishna mantra that was chanted to the butterfly, who then becomes a prince, and then chanted to the prince, who becomes a elevated sadhu or something. But that was about chanting. That wasn't about sacrifice, was it? No.
I do not know the details of the story, Mataji, but from what you say, it seems like, yes, chanting.
That was slightly different. Yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Any other reflections? Or it doesn't have to be a question or comment. Was there anything that was discussed today that was confusing or brought clarity to your understanding? Please feel free to share it.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, yeah, you go first, Prabhu.
Sorry, I'm Sandeep calling from Neelam's phone.
Okay.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhuji.
Please accept mine.
Prabhuji, the milk that we buy and drink from the supermarket.
Yeah.
it is, to my mind, it is quite violent.
Yes.
And because the cows are, we all know it, internet is littered with it. So I'm in this big dilemma. What is the ISKCON's position on this, Prabhuji?
On drinking milk of the cow or not?
On drinking the milk bought from supermarkets, where
Or
the
from
cows,
supermarket, where there's been some violence in the process.
yeah, because cows are mistreated. They spend their life standing at a place and then they're slaughtered for beef. As soon
Yeah,
as-
this is a difficult one, I think, and there's various opinions within ISKCON. You know, there's some devotees are very strong advocates saying that any process where the cows are made to suffer,
Mhm.
we should not be supporters of that process, right?
Mhm.
And many devotees become vegan.
Mhm.
And they say, you know, if the cows, if you can get milk that is derived from proper treatment of cows, then obviously you embrace it and you drink it.
Mhm.
There are some other devotees, they feel in this Kali Yuga, everything is tainted. Everything is tainted. And some of them quote Srila Prabhupada. They say, you know, when Srila Prabhupada says, yeah, he didn't go and ask a lot of questions of where this milk came from, whatever it is. You know, he just accepted the milk and felt that, like I was reading a quotation the other day. Someone was asking Srila Prabhupada, what happens to the plant when a flower is offered to Krishna? Then Prabhupada was saying, oh, that plant from which the flower was achieved, it immediately results in elevation of that plant. So some devotees take the opinion that, you know, no matter what the process is, if that milk is offered to Krishna, right, that cow is getting the opportunity to render some service to Krishna. But then some devotees say, how can you offer milk that's tainted to Krishna? So there's many opinions. There's many opinions. I don't want to express a particular opinion here. You know, it's up for us to consider the merits of the different opinions, or you know, you can ask the spiritual master. It is one of those ones at the moment. This is a bit difficult. And I know even within this forum, I'm sure there are many views that devotees have on this particular subject matter.
No, thank you, Prabhuji. I understand what you are saying. Right now, I'm praying for a spiritual master to begin with. So thank you.
Yeah. Many devotees I know, they try to source ahimsa milk.
Yeah, there is a big queue for it, Prabhuji.
Yeah, there's a big queue. But someone was telling me there's also some farmers that are raising cows and milking cows on the ahimsa principle. Yeah. Anyway, any other questions, comments, or reflections? Okay. Thank you very much again for your attendance, your questions. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namah. Anantakoti
Vrinda ki jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you,
Gaur
Hare Krishna.
Premanande.
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful class.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare